Guys, welcome. Tycho Talks episode 3. Nate, how are you?
Good,
What's
mate.
happening? Today's topic, guys, bit of a controversial one, but I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, we've got to talk about toxic masculinity and whether it is a real thing in society. And if so, the effects of it, both on males and females. But look, obviously, before we start, we sort of say, we've come such a long way, obviously, with the clothing as well. We've sold over half of the stock already, which is good, within a month or so. We actually got our first interstate buy as well from Queensland. So love from Queensland. Thank you so much for all the support. And we just cannot wait for what's got to be, planned in store for you guys, and lots more clothing coming, obviously. But I'm looking forward to it, mate. But
Me too.
Nate, start things off, mate. Defining toxic masculinity, mate.
Right.
Defining it.
As Christos said, this may be a bit controversial, but I think it's important to talk about stuff like this. So we'll start by defining it. Now, I just pretty much got a definition off the internet. So Oxford Dictionary defines toxic masculinity as a set of attitudes and ways of behaving stereotypically associated with or expected of men, regarded as having a negative impact on men and on society as a whole. Does that even make sense to you? Bro, what? This is literally straight out of Oxford Dictionary as well.
It's usually talking about impact on men.
Yeah, well, negative.
It's not really associated with any.
Yeah, so I guess it's pretty much like the definition is pretty much saying, well, toxic masculinity is a set of attitudes that we as a society have decided is men shouldn't behave in that certain way, and how it actually impacts, men and then society as a whole, women, children, etc.
Yeah.
So once again, before we get into whether we actually think toxic masculinity is valid or whether it's a farce, I pretty much Googled some examples of what toxic masculinity is. And we can kind of go through these and break them down and see, well, is that actually toxic masculinity or is it not? So the first one is need for control. Would you say that's toxic masculinity?
Need for control?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it is.
You don't think it is?
No. Do you reckon it is?
Well, explain.
Need for control.
I think it is, actually.
You think it is?
I think need for control is toxic. Need. I think that if your partner, if you're in a dynamic and you're playing your role as a man and she's playing her role as a female, I don't think you will need to control her. I think she will respect you out of her wants to respect you. So I think the way that that's phrased, like need for control, I think that can be kind of toxic. I can see how it could lead to narcissism.
You could word it differently, exactly.
So I think that does a man want to feel like he's in control? Yes. And I don't think that's toxic in itself. But I think that the female needs to be willing to give that. And you can do that. You can have that dynamic. I know a lot of females who want their men to be in control.
Well, if you look at this generation specifically, like obviously I feel like if the man tries to be too controlling in a sense, like the girl gets an ick or something and then and they don't like it.
It depends. It depends who you're
dating. And they go and whisper off to their girlfriends, my boyfriend's this, my boyfriend's that, he's too controlling, doesn't want me to go out, doesn't want me to wear this. Like to a certain point, if you find the right girl, obviously she'll respect your beliefs and all that. You could tell her certain things, but it's just the way you word it as well. You can't be like, oh, you can't wear that, you look like this or that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's just very respectful, you're dating someone, I'm your partner, like just wear something more appropriate, that's it. So there's different ways of wording it, but girls in this generation, they don't like being told what to do, especially. And that's why they obviously tend to look somewhere else when they go out. They tend to have, other needs, and they tend to get, more urged on to do the wrong thing by their partner. You know what I mean? Because they don't like the thought and the feeling of being controlled by the other half, because that's what this generation has made them think.
Look, I think it depends on culture as well. I know a lot of women in the Egyptian community or in the Orthodox community, like they don't see submitting to their significant other. They don't see that as an imbalance of control. They don't see it as like he controls me. So I think that I'll go 50-50 on that. I'll say need for control is toxic.
100% 50-50.
I'll say that,
I'll go 50-50.
A female who's going to respect you and allow you to be in control of the household, I don't think that's toxic.
Yeah, but like even for me, like even talk about the household as well, in particular, like, she can do the dishes, right? Whatever, like just say she does the dishes and all that, and I could like do my part and like, vacuum the house, clean stuff, like, you're a team at the end of the day, you're a team.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? And to grow and to be together and stick together for such a long time and to have kids, Like, you want your kids to see that you guys are work together. Like, you know, you guys are good work. Because at the end of the day, you're partners, you know, you're soulmates. You've got to work together as a team. Whether that is like, she does the dishes, you do something else, you know what I mean? Like, you can't just let your wife do everything and you do nothing.
Yeah, we'll get into
You know
gender
what I mean?
roles
But
a bit
Yeah,
later
of course, yeah.
But the next one, let's kind of like actually just go through these as quick as we can. So promiscuity, I can't even pronounce this one.
Promiscuity.
I know how to pronounce it, but I don't know what. No, that's not how you pronounce it. I know how to pronounce it, but for some reason,
Promiscuity.
I don't think that's how you pronounce it. Okay, so basically, just like sleeping around.
Yeah.
Like being a man whore, basically.
Yeah. Well,
is that toxic masculinity? Yes or no?
Like, oh mate, I'll ask you that, mate. I'll ask you that.
What's it? You'll let me answer it.
Yeah. I answer the first one. You answer this one.
I think that it is. I think that it is.
That's toxic masculinity, you reckon?
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think if you're expecting, like because here's the thing, you've got to understand as well that your beliefs are going to come from a set of rules.
Yeah.
Now, I have a set of rules, it's the Bible. The Bible makes it very clear on
The prophets.
on a man not sleeping around. So whether or not, and this is where I think that
Well, you can't sleep around before marriage.
Exactly.
Like,
So I think this is where there's a bit of a
Debate.
people butt heads with this because I agree with what you're saying where like a man can sleep around and it's not the same as women sleeping around. I agree with that.
So I feel like
It's completely different. I agree with that. But if you're going off a certain rule book, if I'm going off Christianity, then it's pretty clear as to what the rules are. I can't make it up. So I get in a logical sense if we talk about how the brain is wired and how men are more logical and women are more emotional when it comes to sex. I get that men could probably sleep around with people, like they can sleep around with girls and not have it affect them emotionally.
Yeah.
Right? But I think that for me personally, if I'm following a set of rules like Christianity, then I would say it's toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
And I can't expect something from my future girl if I'm not even going to do it myself.
If
If I'm not going to uphold that value,
Yeah.
why should I expect my partner to do it as well?
100%.
You know what I mean? So I'd say yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I know you don't agree with that, but
No.
Yeah,
I
tell
never said I don't agree with it.
we've had some conversations.
I never said I don't agree with that. But to answer your question, like I feel like it's more of a sense that if a girl opens
Promiscuity. Right, it's actually,
I said
I know how to
promiscuity.
pronounce it, bro, but it's pissing me off, but keep going.
Promiscuity, right? Promiscuity. I feel like it's more harder for a girl to open her legs than a guy to, you know what I mean? Like it's the fact that she can do that like once a week or like once a month or something. Like I feel like girls have to be like physically and emotionally attracted to a guy and obviously know them for a while. I feel like to then do something physically. But like I feel like for a guy, for instance, like I wouldn't say sleeping around's a good thing, but then in this society, like if you do sleep around, right? I feel like a guy has to have fun in a sense, right? Has like not experiment with other girls, but like have fun in the sense that like, you know, have no regrets, whatever, like, you know, you're single, you do what you want, but respectfully, yeah? You know, respectfully. You don't do anything bad by the girl, you don't do anything to harm her, nothing, you know what I mean? Everything's respectfully, because at the end of the day, right, you know, you don't want someone to do that to your daughter or to your sister if you have one, specifically. So like if you do something with a girl, it's all about respect, right? Make sure she's comfortable and all that. But then at the same time, if a guy sleeps with like 4 or 5 girls, like it's not a bad thing, but at the same time, it's a good thing because like it's come to realization that, you know, maybe I don't like this anymore. Like I don't like this lifestyle. I want to actually find someone to settle down with. Like I've done that. That's the past. I've done it. I was respectful. You know what I mean? I didn't do anything to harm the girls. You know what I mean? I'm happy the girls that are obviously kissed or whatever did stuff with are happy, right? And these are coming from like obviously my mates in specific scenarios and situations as well. Like, you know, in past, like they'll come up to me and say, you know, I did this, I did that. Like it's not a bad thing. If everything is like on a respectful level and a moral level, I feel like it's fine. And then to a certain point in life, you'll be like, you know, I don't want this life anymore. I don't want to go out and party every day. I don't want to go out and travel. I don't want to go to Ibiza every year and like, you know, sleep with 10, 20 girls at a night. You know what I mean? You want to obviously come to a realization, find a girl, settle down, get married and have kids. You know what I mean? But I feel like if they have that sense of, you know, I've done that, I've experienced life. It's not even experienced life, but you're single, you know what I mean? You have fun. You know, it's every guy's, obviously girls have needs, guys have needs. But if you do everything morally, respectfully, I feel like in a way it's fine. You know what I mean? And then you come to realization, you'll come across someone you like, and that's it. You're content because you've done what you've done in the past. You don't have any regrets in life. And I feel like now in this generation, especially if in high school, like you meet a girl, right, in 16, right? From 16 to 24, you get married. You've done nothing with anyone else. The divorce rates are so much higher because you have that ego, and like when you go out, you get like pressured and like, you know, like you get. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, if you're with a girl,
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that because
I'm known from like specific family events as well. Like I've known people in my life that I've dated from high school, right, and they've had like that first girl, and they've married them and haven't lasted at all. Like literally haven't.
Well, look, I think that's a bit of a stretch because there's also many relationships where
100%. It goes both ways.
Where the opposite of that happens and they still end up in divorce. Yeah. So I think that once again, it really depends on what rule book you're going to follow. Now, I know a lot of people in the Orthodox Church who are, the divorce rate in the Orthodox Church is a lot lower than non-Christians, than, you know, Protestants. Now, that's probably because it's a lot harder to get a divorce, but a majority of men who marry in the Orthodox Church are not sleeping around before they get married. Yep. Usually they're virgins and then they get married. So, and that's got like the lowest divorce rate. So don't necessarily agree with that completely, but once again, it just depends on what rule book you're following. Because I understand your premise of, you know, it's worse for a female to sleep around. It's better for a guy to sleep around and gain experience because women like a man who's experienced. But
it's not even that sense.
But I think that, you know, if we're talking about what's morally right or wrong, it's each to their own. I think that, you know, if you're going off Christianity, obviously it's not morally correct. Yeah. But then also, once again, I think for me, even if we're not talking about Christianity, I think for me, it's important to bring to a relationship what you expect from that relationship. Yep. You know what I mean? Yeah. But that's a tough one. That's a tough one. It is very tough. I wouldn't necessarily say, like, once again, I think I'm 50-50.
You can't even pronounce the word.
I can't even pronounce... Bro, the thing is, I know how to pronounce it. Promiscuity.
I said that. Nah, it's not like that. It's not like that.
Promiscuity. Anyway, I'm gonna lose sleep over that, to be honest. Next one, refusing to help with household duties. Is that toxic masculinity?
Well, we kind of answered this question before. Like, I feel like
just yes or no.
It's got to be 50-50.
Yeah, 50-50?
Yeah, I feel like 50-50, man.
So you reckon refusing to help with household duties is...
But like depending, like if you did the dishes and you vacuumed and you did that, and then she goes, oh, can you do something else? Like, you're not refusing, but like, you know, you can help out as well. You know what I mean, if I've done most housework duties, then you. What if
you're in a traditional marriage setting, and you're the guy and you go and you work and you're making all the money and you're working from 9 till 6 p.m. and she's taking care of the kids and she's a stay-at-home mum.
Yeah.
If you come home, I'm curious to hear your opinion. If you come home and she asks you to do the dishes, is that fair on you?
Well, Nate, I don't know if
you've been working all day.
I actually don't know if you're disagreeing with me on this, but being a stay-at-home mum is just as hard as a guy going out doing a 9-to-5 job. It's probably harder. It's probably harder, man. Yeah. So, guys, man, there's no excuse out there. You have to help your wife in every, like, for me, happy wife, happy life, man. That's how I see it. But like, obviously, you know, she will help out in the sense, like, you know, she's drop-offs to school, pickups, even like toddlers, like, you know, looking after them, you know, changing the diapers, like everything, like doctor appointments and all that. She's rushing out, like, and if your wife if you have 3 kids with your wife as well, like, you know, 1 kid there, 1 kid there, 1 kid there, and you're like, you have to make them all happy. If one cries, you have to look after one, and then so like it's a lot of juggling around, man. And like if you're at work, like you know what you're doing at work, like there's no stress behind it, especially if you're working 9 to 5, or even if you're on your own business. Like you know what you're doing, you got people working for you.
Might not be stress for you, but I know a lot of men who are like the top 1% of society, who are like the CEOs of companies, and I wouldn't say that work is not stressful. So it depends, but I agree with you. I actually personally,
if you're a CEO of a company, right, you have people working for you. Obviously, it's very stressful, but at the same time, like your wife is at home stressing as well. And
like, I agree.
It's kind of like a getaway jail free card as well. Like you're at work, like you have your own time. Obviously, you know you got your own meetings, schedules during the day, and all that. But at the same time, like your wife is.
Well, I actually think the danger comes in when we compare the two and we treat them as if we're comparing apples and oranges right now. Yeah. Like we're treating them like they're the same. I think that you're absolutely right. My cousin's got 3 kids under 5, and her job, I try to get her to understand you actually have such a tough job. Like, I don't want you to feel like that you, I mean, not that I'm saying this to her, but I'm like, I don't want her to feel like she's not doing much because she's a stay-at-home mum and because she hasn't gone back to her career. If anything, I think that's such an important role. How you raise your children and how you've got a mother in the house who's raising their children, that is so way more important than rushing back to the workforce, right? But I think that they both have their own roles. You know, like going to work, and especially if you're in the top 1%, it's very stressful. You know, staying at home with your children, very stressful. So I think, look, 50-50. I don't think refusing to help with household duties
not saying, nah, I was at work all day, I'm not helping you, you know what I mean?
But I think there's got to be some sort of cooperation between the two.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to be equal, and at the end of the day, the kids come first.
Yeah.
So.
All right, let's really get through this next 4 and then we'll move on, because this one's actually...
We can actually put that and that together.
This one's a bit of a joke.
We can put them two together.
Yeah.
Anyway.
This one's a bit of a joke, to be honest. Do you think that risk-taking... They've got risk-taking as toxic masculinity?
Why?
So we're going to say no, definitely not.
Obviously.
Okay. I've actually got no idea why they have... Like, you being a risk-taker is toxic.
It's toxic.
I don't know. Maybe someone can help us understand
For you being an entrepreneur is toxic. For you wanting a good life for your kids and for your future of your wife and for your family is toxic. I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with that either. So
anyway.
Next one is sexual aggression towards women and violence. Obviously, we both agree that's toxic masculinity. 100%. And that's frowned upon.
It's been frowned upon
we
since
condemn that.
Our grandparents have been alive and all that. Like.
All right, last one, stoicism. Do you think that's toxic masculinity?
Stoicism.
Do you think that's toxic masculinity? Why are you even thinking about this?
I don't know. There's like, you could word it differently as well, Nate. What do you reckon?
What do you mean? What do I reckon? Obviously, do you know what stoic is?
Yeah, bro.
Bro, I don't think being stoic, and it doesn't mean suppressing your emotions.
Yeah.
But you as a man getting up and doing what you have to do because you have to do what you got to do, and not because you got a bad day. That's not toxic.
Toxic at all, yeah.
So I would say no to that.
But at the same time, you got to understand, like, some men are going through such a hard time in relationships and all that, like, especially with.
But that's what stoicism is.
Yeah, I understand that.
It doesn't matter how hard of a time you're having.
I know that. But like, you got to put in consideration as well that, like, there's people out there, like even husbands, that like they know that their wife's cheating or whatever, like it is, but they're literally staying there because, like, for the kids, man, especially, like, you know, they don't want to.
That's different. That's not stoicism.
Okay, but
that's different. So I think that, like, if you're talking about a situation where, you know, your wife's cheating on you.
Yep.
Obviously, that's completely different. Stoicism is more, and look, I'll get up the definition. So it's basically
and you agree.
just getting things done regardless of
the scenario, the situation.
Regardless of like, if you have a bad day or if your cat passes away or whatever, and you said you were going to go and get something done, you get it done.
But that's what I mean. Like, your wife cheating on you.
Yeah, but your wife.
But you know what I mean? Like, do you understand where I'm coming from?
Not really.
Not really?
No. Like, your wife cheating on you, like, we're not saying...
3 kids.
Yeah, we're not like...
And like, you, like, having to get up each morning, right? And obviously, you'll do it regardless, but, like, you have that doubt and that thought in your head, like, you're still providing for the family, even though that your specific person, right, has cheated on you multiple times with the 3
I don't
kids
think...
you've had.
Look, I don't think... If your wife's cheating on you, I think you need to go get therapy. You need to... there's something, like...
Yeah, I know,
that's got nothing to do with stoicism.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, you need external help from a third party.
Yeah.
You need to go to couples therapy or something, or you need to leave the relationship completely.
Yeah.
That's got nothing to do with, like things are hard, I got to go out and perform anyway. You know what I mean? Like,
just read the specific definition.
So the specific definition here is the endurance of pain or hardship without the display of feelings or without complaint.
Yeah.
So I get why people can think that's toxic masculinity because you're suppressing your emotion, but I don't really think you are suppressing your emotion.
Yeah.
I think that you're just getting the job done because you need to. But down the track in a bit, we'll talk about vulnerability.
Yeah.
And when it's appropriate for men to show vulnerability.
I agree.
So that was quite interesting. Went for a bit longer than we were supposed to. Now, I guess let's talk about whether or not, I think we kind of have touched on whether we think toxic masculinity is a farce or if it's legitimate.
Yeah, if it's crap or if it's
Yeah.
ruining this society.
I think that, what are your thoughts on, we kind of touched on it. I personally think it's more of a farce than it is legitimate.
100%.
I think there are factors of toxic masculinity which are valid
Yep.
and which we as a society have to, work on together to make sure that it doesn't
Go overboard.
go overboard,
Yeah.
right? Like violence, sexual assault, all that
Yeah,
kind of
of
stuff.
course.
Even in the workplace as well.
Harassment, all
All
that.
Like we all agree on that. But all
pretty
this
bad.
other stuff about whether masculinity, like being strong and being in control and having purpose
Being
and
an entrepreneur, like, going out, quitting a 9 to 5 and doing something, like that's considered, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Toxic. I can't believe that. But anyway.
So I guess in terms of expectations on men, what are expectations on men in society today that kind of contributes to this idea of toxic masculinity? Or lack of, or not toxic. Like it's not toxic masculinity, it's just like boys being boys.
Yeah. Look, there's lots of ways to word it, but I feel like the career choices, I feel like the career that a specific man chooses in life, whether that is, if he becomes a tradie, whether that is if he becomes a doctor, if he goes to uni or something, I feel like that kind of resembles a lot about the specific male as well itself. And I feel like when you meet a girl as well, like the first thing she says is, what do you do for work? Like, would you agree? Like, if you gone on dates, obviously. Like, what's the first thing you guys talk about? Like, what do you do for work? Like, yeah.
We both ask each other what we do
Yeah,
for
of
work.
course.
I don't think it's gender
But
specific.
I feel like, in general, I feel like the male has to have a better job than the female.
Well, I think I'll say it like this. Like, I know for a fact that if I dated a girl who made no money or worked at a cafe as a waitress, I would not view her any differently. As in, her career is not that important. How much money she makes is not important.
Whereas she's a female.
Because she's female. And as a male, like, my role is to provide and protect.
Yep.
And more provide because I'm a midget, it'd probably be hard for me to protect. But the point still stands. Like, I think that for females, though, they don't tend to date down. They'll only date up. Like, if you're a female, you're not dating down. You're not dating a bum from McDonald's.
Yeah.
You're dating up. You're dating someone with status, someone with money.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fact. People might not agree with it.
Yeah.
But it's a fact.
But that's why I said the specific career choices that men choose, right? And men might face criticism or stigma in a sense, because they might have a job that only pays 50K a year. You know what I mean? But they're happy with that. But like traditionally, like the female obviously stays home, looks after the kids, the male goes out, and he has to earn a decent household income to obviously support himself and the family and the kids. You know what I mean? So I feel like the career choices that a man chooses is massively in the sense of finding a girl that's content with the job you do, and obviously the fact that the girl feels happy and safe. You know what I mean? And protected. You have a good household income. You're earning decent money. You're still going out providing for the family, and she knows that. She knows that you have the support. You know what I mean? Of money. Because at the end of the day, money is everything in life. I feel like it helps a lot.
Yeah, no, money helps with 99% of issues for sure. I think that, obviously it's really important to talk about these gender roles because would I be upset? I've actually always been attracted to very strong females. Like my ex was very, very independent and strong and kind of like that Jessica Pearson type of vibe. And I've always been attracted to that. So I think that, there's no right or wrong. If women want to go and climb the corporate ladder, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No reason
There's
at all.
nothing wrong with women wanting to stay at home and be stay-at-home mums.
Yeah.
I think society actually probably puts that down a bit too much. They think, oh, you're not doing anything. It's like, no, they're raising children. I think that's just as important as a female climbing the corporate ladder and becoming a CEO of a company.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that we need to kind of take a step back and understand that whether we like it or not, there are different dynamics. There's a masculine energy and there's a feminine energy. And I read a book, The Way of the Spirit Man. It's such a good book for any male. Not so much written for females, but you could probably still read it. But for any male, it's such a good book.
Yep.
And it talks about how in a relationship, and it doesn't matter if it's a heterosexual relationship or a homo relationship or a gay relationship, there's always a masculine, there's always a feminine. And they're always polar opposites. As in if you've got the female playing the masculine role and you've got the male playing the feminine role, it's sometimes really difficult. Like there's sometimes clashes, especially if that man is a masculine type of guy, but he's not being allowed to play that role because the female is not letting him play that role, right? So it's really important to know that there's masculine, there's feminine, and most of the time, like maybe 80% of the time, the female plays the feminine role, and the male plays the masculine role.
Yeah.
I think where we've gone wrong as a society is we're forcing women to play the masculine role.
Yep.
And because they're in the masculine energy, you have a generation of pussy of men out there.
Because the girl has more power in the relationship. You know what I mean?
Well, that's one thing, but like you're not allowing the man to play the masculine.
Yeah.
But also vice versa.
Yeah.
I think because this is not just women's fault. I think that why women feel the need to play the masculine role and be in that energy is because men are pussies these days. No offense. They're
Wusses, yeah.
They're wusses. They don't want to be masculine. They don't want to. They're just bums playing video games all day, every day.
Yeah.
So I think that it's partly our fault, partly their fault. I think that when you have a man who's masculine and who's in his element and he's striving for a certain, goal and he's got purpose in his life and he's in that energy, you will find that even the most strong females out there will fold back to their feminine energy because they want to. Even if you're a strong female and you want to climb the corporate ladder, you still prefer to be in that feminine energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that depends on whether a male. I wouldn't even say it's female's fault. It's male's fault.
Yeah.
There's a lot of males who don't play that role, and tying back to toxic masculinity, maybe why they don't play that role is because for many, many, many years, they've been told that role is toxic, whereas it's not.
Yeah.
It's actually necessary. So I think that in terms of, whether toxic masculinity is a thing, I think it's not. And I think that saying that it's a thing is actually harming not just men, but it's harming women as well.
Yeah.
Because then they feel the need to play that role of the masculine, if that makes sense.
100%.
So I think this ties in well to men's mental health and how bad this stereotype and the stigma surrounding toxic masculinity actually, impacts men.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Or mental health stigma, you could say, like, I feel like the expectations related to the strength of, like, the resilience may discourage men from speaking out to a specific someone or, like, to a therapist, all that. But we say that the women, on the other hand, right, might face, dismissive attitudes or even be labelled as overly emotional, you know what I mean, in a sense. Like, I feel like, especially in this generation, like, males are more fragile in a sense and emotional, but I feel like it's a good thing as well because they can kind of express their feelings and emotions to the specific other one as well.
See, I have a opinion on that.
If you have an issue and if you have something that's on your mind, I feel like it's healthy to go speak to your partner and to your wife about it and talk about it and resolve the issue. You know what I mean? Instead of like holding up inside of you and making it affect your day, whatever it is, whatever it could be. You know what I mean?
I think that I'll just add to that.
Yeah,
I think you're absolutely right. I think that society needs to encourage men to be vulnerable, but I think for a man, it is so important to be careful about who you are being vulnerable to.
Yeah, of course.
So if you're going to your partner, because here's the thing, like if you're going to your partner and being vulnerable, I think that's a safe place. Like if you've got a partner, you've been together for a while and you've been through hell together and heaven together. And
your soulmates, you know what I mean?
I think that's a good place to start. I think it's good for guys to have like one or two friends that they can confide in as well. I don't think the same way that, so females can basically be vulnerable to the world and it's okay.
Yep.
I don't think that same applies for men. I think that if you're a man and you're being vulnerable and you're letting everyone not walk over you, you're just exposing your vulnerability to the whole world.
Yeah.
I actually don't think that's a good thing. Yeah. That's weakness.
Yeah.
I think that if you're a man and you're selective to who you're being vulnerable to, or who you're allowing people to see your vulnerability, I think that's strength.
Yeah.
So I think we can agree that bottling it up and not expressing vulnerability at all is toxic.
Yep.
But then also, if you're a man and you're basically showing the entire world your weaknesses, I don't think that's
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
And that's
right?
why I literally labelled that, if you have that special someone, that your soulmate, your partner, your wife, I feel like it's good that you can have someone to obviously open up to. You know what I mean? And I could obviously, with my personal thoughts and obviously appearances as well, like in the past as well, like with my current girlfriend now, like I trust her with all my heart. You know what I mean? So I feel like I can have open chats and conversations with her. So obviously, if anything's on my mind, bad or good, regardless, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be emotional. You know what I mean? Even a good thing.
Yeah,
Just
for
talk
sure.
to her and obviously get it out of your system. You can talk about it and obviously make yourself feel better. But then you got to be obviously very wise to obviously who you open up to. But even saying that, like I obviously feel comfortable opening up to you because, like I said, we're business partners. But like if you just met someone in the workplace or at uni, I feel like you got to be very smart and very cautious of who you open up to.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
if you have
100%.
one or two people that you trust in life, it's powerful, man.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think that there's, and I want to go to this quote in a second as well.
Go.
Do you think there, in terms of mental health, I mean, obviously the suicide rate is a lot higher for men than it is for women.
Yep.
And that's just statistically true.
So
we're not debating
why
that.
is that so?
I mean, there's probably a number of reasons. I think the pressure on men to succeed
In this society
and
as well.
to excel and
Yeah.
to be in the top 1% is really tough.
Yeah.
Because it's really competitive. It's a competitive space. And so a lot of men feel like they can't
But who's in
achieve
fault?
that.
Who's in fault for that, Nate?
It's your own fault for it.
Yeah.
Your own fault, not society. If you want to, we're in the 21st century. If you want to go make something happen, and this is where stoicism comes in. The fact that the internet says it's toxic is ridiculous.
Yeah,
to me,
I know.
but if you want to go get something done, you go get it done.
Get
As
off
a
your ass and
man,
do it.
the biggest thing is your purpose. And the book I mentioned before talks about purpose and how it's really important. And it talks about if you ignore your life's purpose for a woman or for your partner, she will begin to resent you over time. If you ignore your life purpose for your significant other, over time, she will actually lose attraction for you. And it's really interesting because you wonder why, divorce rates are so high. You have a bunch of men who, awesome, whatever, they get married and then they just fall off the cliff. They start to gain weight. They have no purpose. They have kids and they just become really lazy.
Yeah,
they're bums. They turn into bums.
Yeah.
And so as a man, your number one priority before anything should be, for me, God. Your second priority should be your purpose. What are you striving for? And nobody should come and take that from you,
between,
even
exactly.
even your significant other.
Yeah.
Because the second you take your eyes off your purpose, even for her, at first it might be great, but over time she will actually
Lose attraction.
she'll lose so much attraction for you, and she'll start to put it back on you. Like,
Yeah.
you're a bum. You don't do this for me. Why don't you work hard for me? This, that. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, purpose is really important. I think that why men have mental health issues these days is because they don't have purpose. Why don't they have purpose in their life? Who knows?
Who knows,
There are a lot of resources out there for you to, maybe it's a...
I don't. Maybe
Like,
look,
why do some men just sit there and they don't want to strive for excellence?
Yeah, like, and most men,
don't know.
most men will kind of relate that. Oh, I don't have the money to do it. I don't have the money to do this. I don't have the money to do that. But at the same time, like, are you working 2 jobs or you're working 3 jobs in a sense to save up that money to then do something? Because there's like, we live in such a good country, and it is, man. Like, there's so much opportunity, and like even like the annual salary, and like if you go, like, for instance, in America, like, there's some jobs that you only get paid $2 an hour, but you literally live off tips. The fact that here you can get a job that pays $40 an hour, you can save up money over a 6-month period, and then literally do something you love and you obviously aspire that you can vision it. They will grow. So there's no excuse for men not to try something in life.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
there is no excuse.
get
So
this thing out of the way.
why do you have a majority of men who are bums? And I think that over the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years, men have been conditioned to be weak.
Yeah.
And this is actually a perfect time to
That
this
goes back to the schooling system we spoke to the other.
Yeah,
so
but I
episode
think
2.
that over generations, we've been conditioned to be weak.
Yeah.
And not be strong and not go for what we want, because that might be seen as toxic. So anyways, this is one of my favorite quotes ever. It's actually one of my favorite quotes. And it's: hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. So right now we're in hard times right now. Things are just like it's bad right now.
Look, cost of living through the roof.
Not even, don't worry about the cost of living.
Inflation,
That's
all
not what
that.
I'm talking about. Don't worry about the cost of living. But yeah, everything is really bad right now. But if we break this quote down, right, you've got good times create weak men. So if we think back to our grandparents, where you're 15, 14, 13, and you're going to fight a war, and you don't even know, your mum doesn't even know if you're going to come back alive. Yeah. Those were hard times.
Yeah.
And they created strong men. Because they created strong men, those strong men created good times. We had a really, freedom. America fought for freedom, and, people could raise their families, and it was amazing, good times. And that's what we're coming out of, right? Those good times over the last 20, 30, 40 years have created weak men because things are so easy that men have been conditioned to be weak. And now we're entering into a time where, because of weak men over the last 10, 30 years,
the next generation,
we are actually entering into really hard times because of men have lost that. And then what happens? Hard times create strong men. It is literally just a cycle, this quote. It is the most interesting thing.
Yeah.
And so I think we're heading into a time, and it might not necessarily be in our generation, we might be a bit older, but we're heading into a time where men are going to have to be in their element again, of being strong men.
Yeah.
And not fall for this whole toxic masculinity. We need strong men again, because we're in this time where, because men have been so weak, because we've had it so easy, and men can, they no longer have to go to war. They can just play video games 24/7.
Well, they're being programmed now. You know what I mean? And that's what the government wants them to obviously be as well. You know what I mean? And it's all about that power and control mindset as well. But
true.
no, that's a really good quote, man.
It's good, man.
Yeah, it's
how good is it? And that's like, we're just going to keep going in that cycle.
Yeah, you're right.
We're like, now men need to step up, and they need to play the masculine role.
The way the world's going, man, you're right. Men have to step up in a massive way, 100%, or else, man, like, they got to understand, like, these are the times, like, and people are saying it, like, financially, like, even like wealth-wise as well, like, these are the times from now to from now to 2030, like, there's got to be people that got to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's got to be like the biggest financial switch in the history of anyone, of mankind. They've been talking about it for such a long time. So that's why I feel like that quote has hit the nail on the head. You know what I mean? We're in such a hard time now. And I feel like, men have to obviously get a kick up their ass, wake the F up, and, try and do something in life. You know what I mean? Just try. Of course it'll be hard. But yeah, there's so much generational wealth that's got to happen in the next 5 years that people have no idea at all. Yeah. And that obviously ties it with the quote. So it's a really good quote, bro. But anyway, really good quote. All right, do you want to go into some? We'll cut it off a bit and go into some would you rather questions, Nate?
All right,
what do you reckon?
Let's do it.
I'll start off with mine while you get yours circled up on your laptop. But I reckon.
I don't know if I should be worried about this.
Nah, we'll do two. We'll do two would you rather's each, or three. We'll do it nice and short. All right, Nate, ready? Would you rather? Right? Because you're single, yeah. So I'm gonna
single
relate these would you rather's to obviously girls and
single,
the other
ready
half.
to mingle.
Would you rather a girl be a 9 out of 10, right? Like a 9 out of 10, right? Like Megan Fox, 9 out of 10 lookalike. But she only cares about herself and the stuff you buy her, and she's very like spoiled and childish? Or would you rather be with a girl that's a 3.5 out of 10?
No. Why'd you say 3.5? You should have at least said like 6.
Nah, 3.5, 4 out of 10. That is by your side supporting no matter what. They want to start a family, and no matter what position you're in financially, she will help you and support you through thick and thin.
I'd rather be single.
Okay, hold
on.
I'll
answer
it like this. You gotta vary it up, man. It's very hard.
3 out of 10, bro. That's...
No, 3.5, 4 out... I said 3.5, so we'll push it to 4.5 out of 10. 4 out of 10.
All right. So wait, okay, so you gave me an example of a 9 out of 10, like Megan Fox. What's an example of a 3.5 out of 10, like Selena Gomez?
You're right.
Because I'll take Selena, for sure.
3.5, 4 out of 10.
Like, just so I can visualize it.
Oh, Jesus. That's actually good. I'll type up celebrities. Let me do this.
While you're figuring this out, let me give my answer while you're figuring out, because I need a visual.
Yeah.
Like, what's a 3.5 out of 10?
All right, let me...
I know for a fact.
Yeah?
that I've gone on dates with such like really pretty girls, but they're so dumb that I've actually lost attraction for them.
Yep.
Really easily, and I've never I've never had a second date with them.
Yeah.
And vice versa. I know some girls that might not necessarily look appealing to the eye at first, but because she's got so much depth to her, there's something about her that attracts me to her.
Yep.
But I have to see the 3 out of 10 first.
I don't know. I actually don't know. Like
what's a 3 out of 10?
4 out of 10 girl.
Just type in ugly celebrity, someone.
No, I'll do it now. I'm actually very curious. Ugly girl celebrities. I actually don't know, man.
Nah, you gotta...
Like a 3.5, yeah, all right. We'll do, have you watched, what's a scary movie called? Oh, bloody hell, man.
Like this chick here?
Heather
Like, would you give her a 3 out of 10? She's ugly. I don't find her attractive at all.
No.
Bro,
Ooh,
she's
yeah.
ugly as.
All right. I don't know if you guys know her. Heather Matarazzo.
If she's a 3 out of 10,
3.5 out of 10.
if she's a 3.5 out of 10,
Or Rosie O'Donnell. We'll do Rosie O'Donnell.
nah, she's...
Rosie O'Donnell, yeah, we'll do that.
No, bro, you've picked the worst. This is the chick that Trump made fun of. You picked the worst person.
Doesn't matter, bro. She's 3.5 out of 10. Rosie O'Donnell.
Oh, why is she on there? Why is she
Yeah,
there?
all right, Rosie O'Donnell. Go for it.
Nah, we'll go Melissa McCarthy.
No, you're not choosing, bro. I'm choosing. It's my would you rather question. Rosie O'Donnell. She's a 3.5, 4 out of 10. Honestly, man.
I think my answer still stands from before.
Yep.
I think that with this, like, she'd have to have an amazing personality.
Yeah.
I think it depends what phase in life I am. Right now,
So would you prefer a girl... are you a type of guy that goes for looks or personality?
both.
Bro, for me, to answer that question, if you're not physically attracted to her, how are you going to find out her personality?
Yeah, well, that's 100%.
So why would you go up to a girl if she's not attractive and then...
But you're asking me, would you rather, bro?
You're
So
not
that's not... Of course, I'm not going to approach a girl if I'm not attracted to her.
Would you rather 9 out of 10 girl that's spoiled, that wants... All she wants is gifts from you and she wants you to spoil her and she gives nothing back in return?
I think for where I'm at right now, I would want rather a 9 out of 10 girl. If I'm going to settle...
That goes out partying every day with your money and all these gifts you give her.
Well, it's temporary. It's temporary fun for me.
Okay, all right.
It's temporary fun.
All right, fair enough. That's good. You've answered the question.
So I think for where I'm at right now, because I don't want to settle down.
Yeah, okay. You've answered the question. That's good. You've answered the question. It's good. You're a dickhead. I told you, man.
Asked me that.
Very cool, bro. Saying that, you're single, you're on side with God, you're doing amazing, you're keeping fit, like I said, and you're doing a lot of stuff in your own personal time to grow yourself. And mate, the girl will come. She'll have all the money in the world. You'll be driving your Porsche 911. You'll be rocking up to all these mad.
But the thing is, I'm not actively looking, so I'm not. It doesn't really bother me at all.
The fact that people look for a girlfriend is that's just wrong at the start.
Yeah, but a lot of people do.
That's what I mean. This is why this generation is
like 90%. Like I refuse. I've said this to you before. I've said this to you before.
From a weak man.
I don't know if
you're looking for a girlfriend, bro. You're a weak man.
Yeah, 100%.
Why are you looking for?
I don't know if you agreed with me on that, but I refuse. I will never, ever go on dating apps.
Yeah. Oh, bro.
Ever. And I know Ben. I know Ben wanted to set one up for me.
Yeah.
Like just for the.
Well, you're the one that said you'll put as your Tinder bio. Remember when you said that?
Obviously, I'm joking. I don't have Tinder. I will never create an account. If any girl ever sees me on a dating app, I'm being set up by another guy.
Yeah.
I'm being set up by Smitty.
Yeah.
Because I will never, ever, I will refuse to go on dating apps. So I'm just like, right now, I'm in my element. I'm not actively looking. If she comes, she comes.
Yeah.
If not, I think that I'll start actively looking like after 30.
Yeah. All right, good. We've answered the questions.
Yeah.
Now, one more would you rather.
No,
we'll wrap it up. Would you rather than 8? Obviously, your parents having a multi-million-dollar business and they hand it down to you, right? So you take care of it. Or start from the bottom up and you get to where you want to be in 15, 20 years' time. Like, what route would you rather?
I'd rather the second one for sure.
And why?
Because...
So you wouldn't rather the instant money and fame in the business straight away, but then you take over the business and you do it better and bigger from what your parents have done. So there's still obviously...
I think the way I'm going to answer this is like this.
Yep.
If my parents have a $10 million business and they raised me in a way as if they didn't have that business, but they do have the business, but they raised me in a way that we didn't have that much money, then I would have the skills to be able to duplicate and expand on their business. But what I find is a lot of people who come from wealth, because they haven't gone through the suffering, they actually can't keep their wealth, and they actually have addictions. They have,
drug addiction,
alcohol, gambling.
In saying that, like, it's the parents' fault, but in saying that, the parents are so busy with the business they don't have time to look after their kids.
Well, that's
okay.
But I'm just saying, like, would I rather?
There's no excuse, exactly.
So I would rather, because I know that, like, it's not. You got to understand something, right? Wealth is different to being rich.
Yep.
Wealth is longevity.
100%.
Wealth is generational.
Yeah.
Being rich is like, my crypto's doing amazing right now. I have like a couple of 100,000 or whatever. That's being rich. Like, can I actually maintain that money over generations? That's wealth. So I don't believe that I can maintain money without the skill set, without going through suffering and actually learning the skills of, resilience and working hard.
Yeah, work ethic.
And all that stuff.
Yeah, all that.
So I think the latter, because I would be able to maintain it. I think with the first one, if they raised me as if we were poor but they had a lot of money, different thing.
Yeah, good answer.
But a lot of rich people don't raise their children as if they're poor.
Yeah.
They don't make them work for what they have. Everything's handed down, and they end up usually they end up losing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
but that's also a cultural and a belief thing as well. Like, I feel like cultural and spiritual people that believe in God and all that, they have money. They do bring up their children in a sense of respect. You got to be morally, mutual respectful. You got to be humble as well in a sense. Obviously, of your upbringings, you know your parents are wealthy. You live in a big house, but they still bring up the kids to be very humble in public and very respectful as well. But I feel like this generation, obviously, there's lots of kids that are, get hand-me-downs, cars and all that, and they do show it off because girls like that. You know what I mean? Girls like a 21-year-old guy that drives an AMG or something. You know what I mean? That gets hand-me-downs. But at the end of the day, like, everything I have today, I've worked hard for it. You know what I mean? And same with you, man. But then, like, having that goal and that vision in 10 to 15, 20 years' time, that generational wealth, getting there eventually, like, those stepping stones and those, hard accomplishes and hard times, good times of leading to where, you obviously want to eventually be is, I feel like, is more pivotal and more crucial than getting me hand-me-downs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
But good answer, Nate.
One more,
and we'll wrap it up.
All right. Would you rather be in jail for 5 years or be in a coma for a decade?
I'd rather be in jail for 5 years. But you can grow, you can read books in jail, you can stay fit in jail, you can still get food in jail.
It depends.
You can still...
depends how you... Depends, bro.
Well, it depends which jail, but... No, I prefer that. 100%.
You'd rather be in jail for 5 years?
Well, you'd rather be dead in 10 years?
It's not dead, bro. It's a coma. You're still alive. You're going to guarantee wake up in 10 years, but you're not... Think about it. I'll tell you why...
I'm answering the question on you, bro.
I'll tell you why I'll pick the coma.
What?
Because I think that you can't guarantee what happens in jail. Like you like the stuff that I've heard in jail, but
if you're not a pussy man, if you're a masculine man, you'll run the jail system.
You're not gonna run the jail system. No offense,
well, you
bro.
will.
You're not gonna. But I'm not picking jail.
I'm a 6'1" Greek, blue-eyed.
Bro, you're not running the jail with those eyes, bro. They're gonna be running you.
I'm Greek. I'm 6'1". I'm built like.
All right, let me.
Like an athlete.
Actually, this is actually a good answer, but
yeah.
You're conscious of what happens in those 5 years. You're unconscious of what happens in those 10 years.
Do you want to answer the question, Mark?
There you go. You already answered. You said jail.
Yeah, but this is why I believe. Because I feel like a jail, it grows. It will grow. Obviously, you're alone for a 5-year period. But
you can't guarantee that, though. You can't guarantee you're not going to...
Oh, 100%. But at the end of the day, like, you're a man. You got to stand up for your rights. If someone's got a bully in jail, you got to, smash him. But at the same time, like, jail is a very cruel and harsh word. But there's some jails out there that are very, like, friendly and, like, all that, but it depends what jail you set. But regardless, I prefer to be 5 years on my own in jail. Read books for 5 years, focus on myself, work out. You eat like shit food, but at the same time you still get by. In 5 years, I'm telling you, we'll go like this. Or you get a good lawyer and reduce your sentence. So there you go. My missus is a lawyer; she can reduce my sentence. Good. And you still can see your family as well. Come in, obviously see like 30
I feel
minutes.
like, yeah, that's fair enough. It's crazy. It's crazy that you need to go to jail to read a book. That's what I find.
No, I'm just saying, but in jail, you have all the time in jail to do whatever you want. So that's what I'm trying to say.
All I'm saying is,
what do you do in a room with like 4 walls around you with no TV? You read books. What else are you to do? Do push-ups, read books.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Do chin-ups.
What else are you gonna do, man? All I'm saying is, like, if I had to pick out of those two,
you rather go in a coma?
I would. Well, I'm not conscious, so I'm not. It's gonna go like this anyway. And it's like, that's it. Like, I'm not aware of what's happening.
But if I'm in jail for 5 years, God's put me in that position to teach me a lesson.
Bro, that's besides the point. That's besides the point. All right.
But
Anyways,
so whatever happens in life happens, man, for a reason.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I
I
agree.
prefer to be in jail than be dead for 10 years.
I agree.
But you're not dead. You're still got to wake up. But yeah, that's an interesting one.
Yeah. All right. So
But
let's finish up with positive masculinity.
Yep.
What are
All
some
right, last
examples
one.
of positive and healthy expressions of masculinity?
You can answer that, mate. But then I'll
I
answer
think
mine and I'll wrap it
that
up.
there are many. I think integrity, being a man of integrity, being strong, not folding on your values. I think a big issue is that a lot of men are folding on their values to impress a girl, or mainly to impress girls. Actually, I think like how many guys like will fold on their values to sleep with a girl? I think too many.
Way too many.
Yeah, I think
You would.
stoicism.
You would.
Actually, I don't think I think I might have maybe 5 years ago. I don't think I would today.
So what's the difference between you from 5 years ago? Till today?
My personal development.
Your
journey.
mindset?
My mindset.
Yeah.
So, I think stoicism, being stoic, is very positive.
Yeah.
That's why I'm kind of concerned as to why Google thinks stoicism is a negative thing. I
Yeah.
think if you're a guy and you get things done because you have to and you do it regardless of how you're feeling, I think that's a really positive characteristic.
Yeah. Do you feel like vulnerability is positive masculinity?
I think, I'm just going to reiterate what I said before. I think for males, being vulnerable to the world is toxic. Being vulnerable to the world is bad.
But I feel like recognizing that being vulnerable is not a weakness.
No,
in a
I know. I
sense.
never said it was
Yeah.
weakness.
Okay.
I'm just saying that
Yeah.
as a male, like females can be vulnerable to the world and that's fine.
As
a
encourage to open up and communicate with your specific loved one, but be wise to communicate with.
Yeah. So I think you have to be selective with who you open up to.
Yep.
I think men should be encouraged to open up to certain people.
Yep.
But I don't think men should be encouraged to be vulnerable to the world.
Yep.
And there's a big difference between that. And if you don't understand the difference between being vulnerable and opening up to a select number of people versus the entire world,
Yep.
like there's a big difference.
Yep.
So I think, like obviously vulnerability is important. I don't think we should shame men for going through hard times or crying or anything
Yeah,
like
no,
that.
of course.
I think it
that,
depends.
That emotional intelligence as well, in a sense. Like, if you're emotionally intelligent, it's a good thing. It grows a man, I feel like, as well.
So
if you're intelligent as well about your emotions, self-awareness and all that, I feel like it's a good thing.
Yeah, well, I think that's actually, it's interesting because I think, like even these days, like sometimes I see on Instagram where a man's posting stuff about personal development and people in the comments like, that's gay or whatever. It's like, no, I think, and this whole debate about reading and pouring into yourself, I think men investing in themselves is the best thing that they can do.
Yeah.
From a personal development point of view. I don't think that's weakness at all. Like if you sit there and decide to read a book rather than go to the clubs, I think that's actually positive masculinity.
Yeah. But at the same time,
because you're not seeking validation.
But at the same time, you
anyone
can do
else.
both things. You could go out to the club with your mates, have fun, and still read books.
Yeah, you can do both. I'm
Yeah.
not against going out and having fun. I think it's
Also, Nate has never been to a nightclub before, guys. So just put that in consideration.
I've been once,
And he's
but
27 years old.
I was 26 when I went for the first time. I've been once.
He was.
I went with a girl and I was like
He was reading the
watching.
books.
I didn't drink. She was like, oh my god. I'm pretty sure she had drunk so much that night, and I was just like watching her the entire night.
Yeah, wow.
Like making sure that nothing bad happened. I was pretty much her bodyguard for the entire night.
Oh, nice.
And on the train home, I had my arm like this. She was like, "Slip my arm, come here." She was like, "Slip my arm like this."
On the train home,
On the train home.
Yeah.
And I was like trying to keep boundaries because I'm respectful like that.
Nah, look, I like a good boogie, man.
But yeah, you said for your birthday we're going out though.
Yeah, 100%.
So it'll be second. I'll be going twice in 2 years.
Well, from you're 27 years old, you've been to the club once. It's pretty good on your own.
How many times have you been?
Over 100.
Oh man.
Over 100. But I had fun, man. Had fun.
Yeah,
with
look,
the
have
boys.
fun. That's good.
I'm
What a waste of money though.
I'm-
That's why I just can't.
I never paid to go clubbing.
Oh,
man.
you didn't?
I was getting paid to go clubbing. I was a host at CQ Saturday, so I was getting paid like $200 a week to go clubbing.
No way. All right. Oh, in that case, that's
I
entrepreneurial, bro. I would
I
go.
was networking. And that's why even now, like I go to so many restaurants and bars, like I know the people that own them because of my networking. Back in the
that's
day,
good.
because they knew me from the
That's
club
different
scene.
then. That's different. If
And
you're
I was-
going, if
I had 25 people under me, I was running to obviously promote the club and all that.
Really?
So, don't
So
worry,
you're
man.
full on around a
I've-
pyramid scheme.
I've been an entrepreneur, mate. I've always been one.
Pyramid scheme nightclub.
Yep.
The 25 people under you.
Yeah, mate.
I mean, honestly, that's fine.
And
Like, if
you
you're getting paid to go.
And you can tell the boys we work with as well, like, free drinks on me, shots, like, vodka, whatever you want, man. I had all the drink cards, so it was good. But
That's pretty
fun,
sick.
man.
That's
Had
good,
fun.
man.
But,
we'll go for your birthday, though, for
100%.
But look, I think, honestly,
Interesting topic,
you know what I
man.
want to do? And we will do this, because this was really rusty, actually, because there's so much that you can go into in this topic.
Yeah. I mean,
And it's really hard, and I know we've probably offended people, but what I want to do, right, we will, sometime down the track, sometime in the future, I want to get a female on, and we're going to address this topic here.
Yeah, 100%.
And we'll see it from her view, like a really, like a strong
Outspoken,
female,
yeah.
outspoken, you know, and we'll see it from her view, and then we'll actually go into some of these topics in a bit more detail.
Yeah. And the meaning and definition behind toxic masculinity, and what the dictionary believes that masculinity is in society.
But look, I think we'll wrap it up there. I think it was okay.
We could talk about this for hours on end.
Honestly, we could.
But it's cool. We want to wrap it up, make it nice and short for you guys to obviously tune in and listen in, and obviously do these frequently, once every fortnight, and make it at least, you know, enjoyable enough for you guys to listen, 30, 45 minute video. So it's good.
All right.
But next episode, stay tuned.
Stay tuned. We'll be good.